Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 110. 110 episodes, eh? That's crazy. I got a thing from my podcast host people that said there was I recorded so many episodes this year and we had so many downloads. It's not a full and accurate thing because I actually moved my podcast. Boring story, it doesn't really matter, but I moved my podcast from one provider to another, then I moved it back again, and it kind of resets your stats a bit, and I did that at the beginning of the year, so it's not quite a full account of what the year's been like, but it's still mega. There's an average of 200 individual people listening to this podcast, that's insane to me. And I know a lot of them will not be people who are even working with me, because if I've got 300 odd members, I don't think everybody... It would be unusual to have such a large concentration of people who listen to podcasts. Most popular episode of 2024, 12 Stone Body, 9 Stone Lifestyle, which is quite an early one, episode 40 something maybe. If you've not listened to that one, go all the way back until you see it. The most listened to episode this year, apparently. I'd only know that because of the stats. Do you know when you know how you get a Spotify Wrapped? You also get one as a creator. So when I went into the podcast section at my end, it was like, here's a Spotify Wrapped of your podcast. Here's how many downloads, how many listens. Here's your most popular episode. How many individual people, how many countries. Good morning, America, Australia, and Germany, I think, were the most popular ones outside of the UK and Ireland. Anyway, it's very windy, it's very wet, but I need to get this done because I am wrapping up on Friday. So it's Wednesday the 18th right now. I am finishing up for a week on Friday the 20th of December. So this is the last episode to try and have an impact around the festive season. We have talked a lot about the festive season. I don't like talking about the same topic too many times because I don't remember the stuff that I talk about. I record myself countless times per day doing check-ins. I do podcasts. I write emails. I write daily posts for my community. I create content for social media. I do scripts for Instagram Reels. So everything just blurs into one, and you start to forget, where did I say this? Who did I say that to? But I think the best thing to talk about today is going to be, just some final thoughts about the festive season. So I've posted a daily post inside Clan Monroe today, keeping the festive content going, because it came off the back of a question that somebody asked at the weekend, I think it was. Jean, there you go, I even remembered the name. Jean asked just a general question to the group, really, but I answered it anyway. What are people doing with tracking over the festive period? Are you tracking? Are you not? What are you doing? So I thought it might be helpful to dive into that here. If you're on the inside of Clan Monroe, then you'll know this. If you're on the outside, you won't. But I do not have a rigid approach. There are no exact calories. There are no targets. There are no goals per se. Here's my recommendation of what you should be doing if you want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And then it's up to that person if they want to do that or not. Rather than, you must eat 1,500 calories every single day, no excuses, soldier. I don't do that. Some people like that. Some people think they need that, but those people are lifelong yo-yo dieters, and it's one of the many reasons that they're lifelong yo-yo dieters, because they think they need that strict, regimented, you must do this and must never do that approach, when in reality that's the thing that's keeping them stuck. But anyway, we don't do rigidity. I'm a huge fan of convenience. I'm a huge fan of people being able to be flexible. And, with the whole tracking thing, this little segue here, but with the whole tracking thing, I don't like the idea of people tracking every single gram of the food that they eat. I do not like completely anal tracking, because it almost never gets better results. The only time tracking accurate, I tell this to people at check-ins, when I do ask a tracking accuracy question, but that's for my benefit. That's so that I know if I look at someone's weight and they're down by half a pound over a fortnight, but then I come down and I see 40% tracking accuracy, then it makes perfect sense. But tracking accuracy, like, it's only a problem when it's a problem. And in that exact situation, I've done lots of check-ins this week where people are talking about festive meals out, work parties, festive days out, blah, blah, blah. My tracking wasn't quite good here, my tracking wasn't quite good there, but they're down 2 pounds, 3 pounds, up to 4 pounds in a few cases. And that's where I just say, look, yes, being accurate with your tracking can be helpful, but look at your progress over the last 4-6 weeks. You said your tracking accuracy was 60% that week, 70% that week, 80% that week. But look at what that's getting you in terms of results. And then that you can then say about that person, you are someone who is able to not track with a great deal of accuracy, because when you're not accurate, you're either underestimating or you're cautious or your habits are great and you're not playing the numbers game. So there are many people who can not do the accuracy thing and get great results. But then at the opposite end of the scale, if I'm on someone's third check-in and their weight's still the same and they're telling me that accuracy is 30-40%, you can say, well, in the missing 60-70%, there's a big problem. So you are someone... Whoa, that's very windy. I'm hoping the cover that goes over the top of this microphone is going to kill a lot of that and you're not going to hear it. It's very windy this morning. So yeah, there are people who need accuracy, who do not do well without it, unfortunately, and you don't find out until you start tracking and discover the type of tracker that you are. Anyway, bringing it back to the festive period. Realistically, let's think about the festive period, right? I'm going to talk about my experiences because they're the ones that I know best. Just to give you an idea of what my festive period looks like. I love going out for dinner on Christmas Eve. An early dinner, 4 p.m-ish. There's a beautiful restaurant near me called Boardwalk, which is done up beautifully at Christmas time. We didn't manage to get there last year, I think, because of illness, which is standard in our house at Christmas, but we're going this year for Christmas Eve dinner. In fact, I'll just tell you everything I'm doing for Christmas Eve. There's a cinema here called the Hippodrome in Bowness. It is a beautiful, very old-fashioned theatre stroke cinema. It is still like the decor and everything inside is still like the original decor. Very old-fashioned, lovely. I absolutely love it. It's also extremely cheap. They do like an 11 o'clock in the morning showing on a Saturday. You can go see, like on I think it's the 27th, I booked tickets for something. On the 27th of December, I was just having a look around. You can go see Moana for a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, for just over 10 quid. That's ridiculous. Ridiculously cheap. But they quite often do that on a Saturday morning showing. I've been to loads of stuff there. Anyway, on Christmas Eve, they do a showing of the Snowman, followed by the Snowman and the Snow Dog. And we did it last year. And then we went to the garden centre afterwards. I can't remember if we did the Christmas Eve dinner last year or if we stayed at home. But anyway, it's such a lovely way to spend a Christmas Eve. So our Christmas Eve will consist of the cinema in the morning, kill some time before our early dinner, and then home, early bed for the kids before Santa comes out. So that's my Christmas Eve. Christmas Day will be the standard Christmas Day dinner. And then Boxing Day, my mum, that's usually the time that I see my mum and dad and my gran. They'll come over to ours and we'll usually get a Chinese. So it's very easy to get carried away in the whole festive food thing, right? But let's just break down my festive period. What is it? It's eating out on Tuesday, eating out on Christmas Eve, which is just dinner, remember, and this is how I ruin meals out for people. A meal out is just dinner cooked by someone else. eating somewhere else. That's it. It's the same meal you've been eating every night of your life since you were old enough to eat solids. You're just not eating it at home, and you're just not cooking it. People get all hyped up about meals out. They build them up to be something they don't need to be. And that's, once you start building something up and putting it on a pedestal, that's when you start to get, you get weird around it. That's when you start doing things that you don't do at home, like having 3 courses and clearing every plate and ordering sides and finishing other people's leftovers because you don't like to see food wasted, or making sure you eat everything because it's, you're paying for it, and that kind of mentality. We spoke about that stuff in many other episodes. So yeah, realistically, what am I doing? I'm having dinner, not at my house, on Christmas Eve in a restaurant. I will perhaps have 1 or 2 courses, depending on what I fancy at the time. I will stop eating when I start to feel full. And that'll be it. It's as simple as that. Christmas dinner, I will do the exact same thing. We're going to my in-laws on Christmas Day. We'll go there, we'll have Christmas dinner. All the plates and stuff will be on the table. There'll be some turkey, there'll be lots of vegetables. I'll eat until I feel full, and then I'll stop eating, and then I'll have a dessert, and that's it. That's it. I've had Christmas dinner. I've taken part in the festive stuff. And then Boxing Day will be a Chinese takeaway, which I will treat in the exact same way. I don't know what I'll have. Probably satay, mixed satay, that's my thing. Mixed satay, maybe some salt and pepper chips. Or maybe I'll get an egg foo young, mixed meat egg foo young. I don't know, we'll see how I fancy at the time. And that's it, 3 dinners done. Christmas does not need to be a big drama. It does not need to be a non-stop eating occasion. We've spoken about this in recent episodes. Why do people make it a non-stop eating occasion? Because it's an excuse, it's a reason, it's justification, it's an opportunity to break free from the restriction that you place yourself under the other 11 months of the year. And so you go, fuck it, it's Christmas. And you eat all those chocolates. And you eat that whole Terry's chocolate orange, and you finish that bottle of Baileys, and you crack open those packets of nuts, and you eat and eat and eat, and you feel fucking awful. And you're doing it thinking that you're enjoying yourself, but you sure as shit don't enjoy yourself afterwards when you feel it all in your stomach and you regret it, and all the negative stuff that goes with it. Bringing it back to the question, what should I do about tracking over the festive period? Here's the advice that I gave to my clients. And this is only advice you can take if you are my clients, because if you're not, you're doing things very differently, and you're probably going to turn into a very different person when you're not tracking. That's not to say that all of my clients are not going to turn into different people when they're not tracking, but those are the problems that I deal with in January. So, in fact, let's start with this. Somebody asked me a question on Instagram. I put a question box, and somebody said on Instagram, I'm a bit worried that I'm going to go mad over Christmas. So the question box was like, any anxieties, any worries, any concerns, anything that I can give you some advice around over Christmas. And it was a question that says, I'm a bit worried I'm going to go mad over Christmas and undo all my hard work. So let me give you the answer to that. Why worry about something that is 100 million% under your complete control? So, first of all, let's explain why people talk like this. They talk like this because it's easier to separate yourself into different behaviours and personalities, because you can disassociate yourself from it. That wasn't me. That was just me going a bit mad. And then rather than it being a conscious choice and a conscious decision, it's treated as being separate from you. Oh, that's not me doing that. That was me going mad. It's something we do to make ourselves feel better about the negative things we do. If we can try and separate ourselves from it, if we can try and make it sound like it's not us that's doing it, then it makes it a bit easier to deal with. Because at the other end of Christmas, so you're preempting it by saying, oh, I might end up going a bit mad. I might end up going a bit wild. I might end up being a bit bad or a bit naughty. And it's almost like you're not necessarily giving yourself permission to do it, but you're creating the expectation around it. Rather than saying, I am not going to do this, I am not going to do that, this is the type of person I am going to be, because that's too committal. That's very committal language. And when you commit to something, you're taking on a lot of responsibility. You're placing a lot of, you can also be placing some pressure on your shoulders as well. Unnecessary pressure. But it makes it easy, it softens the blow, so that when you come out the other side of Christmas, and this is going to happen with people that I'm working with, we're going to get to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of January, and they're going to check in. And, that's just going to be what my January is going to be like. Every check-in I open, one's going to be telling me how brilliantly Christmas went, how it's the best Christmas they've ever had, because they didn't overindulge and all the rest of it. And then, at the opposite end of the scale, we're going to have people telling me that they think they've failed. I said I was going to do all these things. It all went out the window. Usually alcohol is going to be the source of the problem, because that's just how it goes. As soon as I started drinking, that was it. And then that's when the cycle starts. Like, alcohol is one of the biggest problems in the world when it comes to people's weight. But what can you do? We're all adults, it's up to everyone to decide what they want to do, if they want to place themselves under the influence. The thing is, like, when you're trying to work on your habits, when you're trying to, it takes effort and conscious thought to apply things. So, for example, I've given my guys inside the Clan Monroe lots of questions to ask themselves, lots of little check-ins to do with themselves, lots of little exercises they can do when they're in certain situations, like observing other people's behaviours, taking a moment to pause and ask yourself a question about the thing you're about to eat. What's the purpose of this food choice? What am I using this food for? Just to help them establish if they're making a positive choice or not. Am I just eating this because there's a bowl of nuts on the table, or do I genuinely 100% want this, even though I've just had dinner, dessert, whatever? But you bring alcohol into the mix, that's it. It's game over. You're not asking yourself questions anymore. All that work you were doing, all those things you were thinking, all those questions you asked on the run up to Christmas, all those intentions that you set, you're now 3 glasses into a bottle of wine and you don't give a fuck. All you want to do now is pursue pleasure, because you've got that familiar alcohol glow, and that means it's pleasure time, which means, yes, get me another drink. Oh, a Baileys, yeah, I'll try one of those. Oh, you've got the port out. Yeah, bring that cheese board over here. Pass those nuts over. Could you give me that tub of Pringles? And that's just how it goes. You cannot control who you are under the influence. Sober plans go out the window when alcohol is involved. Anyway, this is all the kind of thing that I'll be dealing with in January. All the kind of thing that I'll be helping people with January. And it's the conversations I'll be having with people. What I've just said to you, that's what I'll be saying to people at their check-ins. Your Christmas was fine. You had a great Christmas. The only problem is you decided you want to get drunk, knowing full well the type of person you turn into when you're under the influence. And this is the result. What else did you expect? How else did you think it was going to go? Did you think after 20 years of drinking alcohol, you were suddenly going to turn into a different person and make wonderful choices in the Christmas of 2024? Of course you didn't. But this is what January will look like. Anyway, that was a massive detour in what we were talking about. So coming back to it. You have complete control over your choices. Why worry about something you have complete control over? You will either choose to approach Christmas in a balanced and moderate way, like the way that I just described about my 3 meals over the 3 days, where you apply the habits that you've been working on, where you apply the thoughts that you've been working on, where you understand that you do not need to clear a plate of food to enjoy yourself. You do not need to order multiple courses and multiple sides to enjoy yourself. Your enjoyment will not be measured in how many drinks you have. Your enjoyment is measured in your ability to look back and say, do you know what, that was a fucking great Christmas, which is what I'll be doing on the 27th of December. I'll look back, and I know this because it's been the same every Christmas for, since 2017 maybe. When I stopped doing the whole non-stop eating thing, and alcohol thing, of course. Although that did come sometime later. You will either choose to approach the festive period in a sensible, balanced way, or you won't. And that's what I kind of said to that person who asked about, I'm worried I'll go mad. Look, it was like, going mad means something different to everyone. Like, people say things like that to me and in the group all the time at their check-ins. They'll talk very cryptically. Old habits crept in. I went a bit mad. I went off the rails. I went into fuck it mode. Every time they say something like I don't know what that means. That person knows exactly what they mean. I've got a rough idea of what they mean. I know it means some form of excess. But you need to say, look, you need to come back and tell me exactly what that means to you, because it means something different to everyone. Oh, when I'm going mad, I'm doing this, this, and this. So you don't need to worry. What have you got to worry about? Nobody is forcing you to eat. Nobody is forcing you to drink. You are the one and only person that will decide what you do or don't eat. And you have absolute and complete control over every choice you make. So you will not be going mad. You will be doing exactly what you want to do. You're calling it going mad or off the rails or whatever because it makes it easier to deal with. It makes it less of a you thing. Do you know what? It's like something that just popped into my head there. It's like when there's a court case and the person pleads insanity. Oh yeah, I know I did that horrendous thing, but it was actually my mental health. Oh my God, it is windy. Holy shit. I don't know what this is going to be like for you guys when you listen to it, but that is mega. I'm trying to cover the mic a bit, even though it's got the big dead rat thing on the top of it. So yeah, fine. I've not even got to the point yet of the tracking thing. So let's get to that and wrap this up. With tracking over Christmas, it is entirely up to you what you do. There is no right or wrong way. My advice, if it was me doing it, I would not track over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. Because if I was tracking, I would be tracking with a goal. And that goal most of the time is fat loss. Now, your goal on those 3 days is probably not going to be fat loss. So then it begs the question, well, what's the point of tracking? Now, there is a caveat to this, because when you're not tracking, this is when you discover how well your habits are taking, how well your thoughts are, your mindset's changing and your thoughts are starting to take root. Because if you revert to type when you're not tracking, then you'll know you've still got a lot of work to do. If you are, like, the way I see it is, you should be able to remove tracking at any time and continue to eat the same. You do not need to eat the same breakfast you ate yesterday. Wait a minute. You do not need to track to eat the same breakfast that you've been eating for the last 2 weeks. You don't need to track to eat the same lunches you've been eating for the last 2 weeks. You don't need to track to eat the same dinners and the same snacks. You should be able, if you are tracking, you should be able to remove tracking anytime and continue to be the exact same person. Now, if you are someone who removes tracking and sees it as an excuse or justification or permission or a reason to eat whatever you want, and whatever you want to eat is excessive, then that tells you that you've still got a lot of work to do on yourself, your mindset, your relationship with food. And that's fine. Like, the final thing that I said on my Instagram stories was that, remember, you won't do anything wrong this Christmas. There are no failures. There are only lessons. And I've said that to my community as well. Like, I would like to think most of them are going to do great. Historically, most of them will do great. There will be a portion of people who do not so great. And that's fine. It just means that people are at different stages. The people who don't do so great, that's great. You know, everything's positive. Like, when I do these check-ins, remember, I always say this at my end, every single check-in is a good check-in. There's no such thing as a bad check-in. Might feel bad for the person on the other end because they're not proud of what's happened. But for me, if I'm looking at one where somebody's done great over Christmas, awesome, that's a good check-in. If I'm looking at one where someone struggled over Christmas, awesome, that's a good check-in, because we've got an opportunity now. Okay, here's what happened Christmas 2024. Here's what we're going to do for the next 6 months throughout 2025. Because the way that you act Christmas 2025 is not going to be about what am I going to do differently next Christmas. It's going to be what am I going to work on this year so that next Christmas goes differently. Because remember, like, the way that you treat Christmas is not just because it's December. It's based on the way that you think, act, and behave the other 11 months of the year. Christmas is just probably one of the biggest food and drink celebrations there is. So it's the one that puts your habits, your behaviours, your thoughts, etc. to the test the most. You've got more food around the house, you've got more social occasions, more visitors, more alcohol, time off work. It's like the magic combination for excessive habits, and it's the time of year when you will be tested. Like, okay, let's see what your work over the last 6 months on yourself, what can it do? What can it stand up against? Can it see you through Christmas? Or will you turn back into the old version of you? Or, I'm speaking very much in opposites here. It's not always going to be like that. It's not always it's just going to go badly. There is some middle ground as well. So if things go a little bit better than the last year, that's good too. Anyway, that's enough ramblings from me. I will do an episode between Christmas and New Year. I was going to say no and not commit to it, but I will. Stuff it. Until next time.